He wasn't running. He wasn't stealing. He was just a boy, tired, scared, and trying to disappear. When he climbed into the back seat of that expensive black car, he thought he found shelter, a few hours of warmth, maybe even safety. But what he didn't know was that this car belonged to the kind of man people like him were never supposed to touch. What followed wasn't just about a child on the run. It became a story about power, pain, and a society that still decides someone's worth by their skin. This is what really happened, and it will break you. It was just another morning in the neighborhood no one visited unless they had to. Cracked sidewalks, rusted gates, and the echo of laughter sometimes from children who learned way too early how to survive. 13-year-old Jalen moved through it all like a shadow, quiet, invisible, and careful not to draw attention. Home wasn't home. His mother had passed when he was 9, and what followed was a revolving door of uncles, aunts, and couches that smelled like regret. But his uncle, Uncle Darren, was different, not in the way Jalen hoped. Angry, bitter, and always one bad day away from raising his fists. School was his only escape, but even there, he stuck out. The only black kid in a mostly South Asian neighborhood, he was either too loud, too dark, too different, never quite enough. The teachers noticed his silence, but did nothing. The world around him had already decided who Jalen was before he got the chance. Still, he held on, barely, listening to music in one ear, writing rhymes in secret, and dreaming about becoming someone people didn't look through, someone that mattered. But dreams can't protect you when the shouting gets too loud, and when you see those eyes turn mean. That morning, Jalen didn't pack a lunch. He packed everything he owned in a school bag. He wasn't running away. He was leaving. What he didn't know was that the car he'd choose to hide in wasn't just another car, and the man who owned it was about to change everything. Jalen didn't have a plan, only a backpack, a hoodie, and the kind of silence that comes from being ignored too long.
It was still early when he ducked behind the tall hedges of the luxury restaurant near downtown. No one would question a black boy walking the streets with a hoodie pulled low, but they'd watch him, always watching, always waiting. That's when he saw it. A sleek black car, smooth as glass, parked in the corner lot, its engine still warm, rear door unlocked like the city itself had left one moment of mercy behind. Jalen checked both shoulders, slipped inside, and pulled the throw blanket over his tiny frame. The leather was warm. He closed his eyes. For the first time in days, he felt safe. But safety, like everything else, was temporary. 30 minutes later, a man stepped into the driver's seat. He didn't notice Jalen in the back. The car pulled away into a world the boy had never known, past gated homes, manicured driveways, and windows too tinted to see inside. What Jalen didn't know was that the owner of the car, Logan Reed, was one of the city's most well-known tech entrepreneurs, filthy rich, outspoken, and by all appearances progressive. But appearances lie. They arrived at a private garage beneath a towering glass building downtown. Logan opened the back door to grab something from the seat and froze. A black boy, in his car, breathing. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, rage. Jalen tried to speak, but Logan yanked him from the back seat like he was garbage. Eyes wide with disgust, he dragged the boy toward the lobby by his hoodie, shouting for security. No one asked questions, no one listened. Jalen was slammed against a wall, arms pinned by 2 officers in suits too clean to care. One of them asked, "How'd he get in?" The other looked Jalen up and down and answered without emotion, probably trying to steal. That was all it took. No ID, no voice, just judgment. They threw him in the back of a building security van. No call to the police, no search for family, just paperwork that said trespassing male, possibly attempted robbery. But the injustice didn't stop there. Later that day, footage from a security camera hit social media. One angle, a grainy clip of a boy in a hoodie slipping into a parked car. No context, no sound, no story. The comments spilled in fast. Typical. Where's the father? They never learn. No one asked his name. No one wondered if he needed help. At a press conference the next day, Logan Reed stood with a straight face and said, "We need to be more vigilant. These kids, they're getting bolder." He didn't mention the boy's age, or his empty backpack, or the tears dried into his sleeves. To the world, Jalen wasn't a child in pain. He was a threat in a hoodie.
And somewhere, in a cold room downtown, Jalen sat on a metal bench trying to understand how looking for warmth turned him into a criminal. But his story wasn't over yet. In fact, it was just beginning. Jalen sat in that freezing detention room for hours. No food, no call, no questions. Just the echo of boots on cold concrete and the weight of being seen, but not as a boy, as a threat. Across town, his uncle, who should have come running, didn't even pick up the phone when the number flashed on his screen. Jalen had no one looking for him. To the world, he had disappeared. And to the system, he was just another case number. But the silence broke when a young social worker named Ms. Taylor walked in, files clutched to her chest, eyes tired but kind. She wasn't supposed to be working that shift. She wasn't even from that department. But a janitor had mentioned that some kid who looks like he don't belong had been sitting alone for hours, and something told her to check. When she found Jalen, curled on the bench with his arms around his knees, something shattered in her. She demanded answers, demanded to know why a minor was held with no guardian present, no charges filed. The officers brushed her off, waving the word trespassing like a shield, but she didn't move. And that's when she saw the file. Slipped under active review was the surveillance footage, the same video that had gone viral online. But this version had sound. It captured Jalen whispering to himself just before entering the car, "Just a few minutes, just want to rest." It caught his breath shaking as he climbed into the back. No tools, no theft, no crime. And it caught Logan Reed after discovering him, saying coldly to his security staff, "Make it go away, quiet, no mess." That one sentence would change everything. Ms. Taylor immediately contacted Child Protective Services, then quietly reached out to someone she knew in the press. For the first time, the full video was shared, not the silent clip, but the truth. And when the truth came out, so did the fury. Jalen had been punished for his skin, for his poverty, for daring to exist in a space not meant for him. But now the world was watching, and someone finally listened. It took days of media pressure and public outcry before Jalen was finally released. No apology, no explanation, just silence and paperwork, like nothing ever happened. But everything had changed. Jalen was placed in temporary care under Miss Taylor's supervision. For the first time in years, he had a bed to sleep in, food without fear, and, most surprisingly, someone who believed him. But the scars ran deeper than anyone could see. He stopped smiling. He flinched at loud voices. He no longer looked people in the eye. Because in that garage, in that moment, the world told Jalen the truth. His existence was a threat before he ever spoke a word. And it wasn't just about one mistaken accusation or one rich man's panic. It was about every system that allowed a child to be detained, humiliated, and labeled dangerous for being poor and black in the wrong place. That luxury car didn't just carry a millionaire. It carried a mirror,
showing how easily comfort becomes cruelty when it feels threatened by color. Logan never faced charges. The viral clip faded, but Jalen's story didn't end there. A year later, he stood at a youth rally, nervous but brave, reading a poem he'd written in foster care. "They call me shadow, silent, dark, but I am not what you see in the dark. I am the storm you tried to silence, and I will not disappear." His voice shook the room, and for once, the world didn't just see a statistic, it saw a soul. How many Jalens are out there right now, hiding, shrinking, surviving, just to be seen? How many more stories like his do we need before change stops being a trend and becomes a truth?